great hall of the Galactic Embassy was silent, filled with both humans and aliens. The first meeting between Earth and the Zayari Empire was about to begin. Soldiers stood tall, diplomats whispered nervously, and cameras floated quietly in the air. Everyone waited for the moment that could decide peace or war. At the center of the hall stood Captain Ryan, chosen to represent humanity. He was not a politician. He was a soldier, strong, calm, and respected. But today he carried not just a soldier's duty, he carried the hope of his entire world. Across from him walked the alien ambassador, Lady Soraya of the Zayari. She was tall, graceful, her eyes glowing like silver light. Her every step was quiet, but heavy with meaning. For her people, this meeting was sacred. For humans, it was history in the making. As the two approached, the hall held its breath. Ryan extended his hand as every human would in greeting. It was a simple gesture of trust, a handshake, nothing more, or so he believed. Soraya paused for a moment, her silver eyes locking onto his. To her people, touch was powerful, something never given lightly. Yet under the watchful eyes of both sides, she lifted her slender hand and placed it into his. The instant their hands touched, the air itself seemed to shift. A pulse of light surged around them. The floating cameras crackled with static. Soldiers stepped forward in alarm, gripping their weapons. Diplomats gasped in shock. Ryan felt it too. A burning warmth spread from her palm into his arm, then across his chest. It was not painful, but it was deep, powerful, unlike anything he had ever known. His heart raced, his vision blurred for a moment. He tried to pull back, but her hand gripped his tightly, her body trembling. The light swirled like a storm around their joined hands, and then, just as quickly, it faded. The hall was silent once again, but not with peace, with fear. Soraya staggered, her lips trembling as she whispered words only he could hear. "It is done." Ryan blinked, confused. "What is done?" he asked, his voice low. But she said no more. Her legs weakened, and she collapsed into his arms. The crowd erupted with shouts, some calling for guards, others demanding explanations. Ryan held her carefully, his soldier's instincts rising above the chaos. Her skin was cold, her breathing uneven. He looked down at her face. She was not dying, but she was changed. Her glowing eyes no longer looked upon the council or the soldiers. They looked only at him. Whispers spread like wildfire through the hall. Some humans demanded answers. Some aliens whispered in fear. The diplomats shouted for calm, but one question now burned in everyone's mind. What had the human just done? Ryan did not know. He only knew one thing. Nothing in his life would ever be the same again. Captain Ryan carried the fainted alien ambassador in his arms as guards rushed forward. Soldiers surrounded them, unsure whether to protect or arrest. The entire hall was chaos, shouts, alarms, confusion. But through it all, Ryan's focus stayed on the silver-eyed woman who had just collapsed. She was breathing, but weak. Her hand still clung to his sleeve as if she refused to let go. Ryan could feel a strange warmth spreading up his arm, even though her touch was light. He had no words for it. He had fought battles, faced death, but never had he felt something like this. "Get a medic," he barked, his soldier's instinct taking over. The alien council demanded answers. Their voices thundered across the hall. "What have you done? What ritual have you broken?" But Ryan himself had no answer. He only knew he had reached out to shake a hand, and now everything was different. The medics scanned Soraya with their alien devices. Strange readings lit up the screens. The healers looked at one another with wide eyes, whispering in fear. "It has begun," one of them muttered. Ryan frowned. "What has begun?" No one replied. Later, in a quiet chamber guarded by both humans and aliens, Ryan sat beside her. Soraya slowly opened her eyes, still weak, but her gaze was sharp. She looked at him as if she had known him forever. "You are bound to me now," she whispered. Ryan leaned closer, trying to understand. "Bound? What are you talking about? I just shook your hand." She shook her head slowly. "Not in my culture, not with my people. The handshake, the joining of flesh and energy. It is sacred. It means union. It means family." Ryan stared, stunned. "Family? That's not what it means for us." Her eyes softened, but her voice carried both sadness and truth. For the Sayari, there is no mistake. Once it is done, it cannot be undone. He tried to laugh it off, but his chest tightened. "Tempo, you're telling me that one simple handshake just tied us together, forever?" Soraya closed her eyes and a tear slid down her silver cheek. "More than tied. You carry part of me now, as I carry part of you." The words struck him like a blow. He had no idea what she meant, but he could feel it, deep inside. His body felt different, his mind sharper. It was as if something unseen connected them both, a thread woven through his very soul. Ryan wanted to deny it, but when he looked into her glowing eyes, he couldn't. He felt it, the unexplainable bond. Outside the chamber, whispers spread through the council halls. Some called it destiny, some called it a curse, and others whispered that the ambassador carried something within her now, something that belonged to the human. Ryan clenched his fists, his thoughts racing. He had come here to secure peace, to represent Earth with honor, but with one single handshake, he had stepped into something much bigger, something dangerous, something irreversible. And deep inside, he feared one thing above all. What if she was telling the truth? The council chamber was filled with tension. Humans sat on one side, the Zayari on the other. Between them stood Captain Ryan and Lady Soraya, still weak but refusing to leave. Her silver eyes never left his face, as if the bond they shared could not be broken even for a moment. The human diplomats demanded answers. What is happening? Why is our captain tied to your ambassador? But the alien elders only muttered among themselves, refusing to explain. Their glowing robes swayed as they whispered old words, words heavy with fear. Ryan's patience was wearing thin. He was a soldier, not a politician, and the silence only made his blood boil. Finally, he stepped forward. If anyone knows what this is, then speak. I will not stand here blind. One of the elders, an old Sayari with deep blue markings across his face, rose slowly. His voice shook, not with weakness but with the weight of memory. You have touched her in the ancient way, human. You have taken part in the binding. Ryan frowned. Binding? The elder nodded. It is our most sacred ritual. Long before we had ships and empires, our people believed that true union was not through words or promises, but through touch. When two beings joined hands with pure intent, their life energies merged. That union was unbreakable. It created not only trust, but lineage. The words hung in the air like a sword. Ryan could feel every eye in the room turn toward him. You're saying... His throat went dry. That one handshake created a... family? Soraya's voice was soft but steady. Yes. In our ways, you are no longer only a visitor. You are bound to me, as mate, and as father to what may come. The chamber erupted. Some aliens shouted that it was impossible, others that it was an abomination. Human diplomats protested loudly, but Ryan stood frozen, his mind spinning. A handshake? A simple touch of flesh and skin? And now, he was a father? The elder raised his hand, silencing the noise. It is rare, almost forgotten, but the old records speak of it. The energy of our kind can merge with the spark of another species. It has happened before, long ago, but never with a human. Ryan's chest tightened. So this is permanent? I can't undo it? The elder shook his head. No one can undo what is sealed in the binding. To reject it would bring death to both. Ryan felt the weight of the words sink into him like chains. He had not chosen this. He had not asked for it, yet destiny had forced it upon him. Soraya reached for his hand again, her fingers trembling. I did not expect this either, but the bond is real. I feel you in me, as you must feel me in you. Ryan stared at her, searching for any sign of deceit, but all he found was truth, raw, undeniable truth. And deep inside, beneath his fear, something strange stirred. Not anger, not rejection, but the first spark of something he could not yet name. The chamber was quiet after the storm of voices. The human diplomats argued among themselves. The Zayari elders whispered in fear, but Captain Ryan only heard the echo of one truth. He was bound to Soraya. He followed her into a smaller chamber, away from the eyes of soldiers and council members. The door sealed behind them with a soft hum, leaving only silence and the faint glow of alien lights. Soraya sat weakly on a curved bench, her silver eyes shimmering. She looked fragile, but Ryan could feel the weight of strength hidden beneath her calm. For a long moment, she said nothing. Then she finally spoke, her voice trembling like wind through glass. I must tell you what the others will not, the truth you deserve. Ryan crossed his arms, his jaw tight. Then tell me, because right now I don't understand anything. One moment I was greeting you, the next I'm told I'm your mate. Your council wants my head, and my people think I've broken protocol. I need answers, Soraya. She lowered her gaze, her hands folding together. The binding is not only symbolic, it is real. When you touched me, our energies merged. And when that happens, life can be created. Ryan stiffened. Life? Her eyes lifted, filled with both fear and hope. Yes, I carry part of you now. The binding has already begun its work. The healers will see it soon, but I already feel it inside me. Ryan's heart pounded. He had faced gunfire, explosions, ambushes, but nothing had ever struck him like this. You're saying, you're carrying my child? Soraya nodded slowly. Not in the way your people understand. My body was shaped by generations to merge through energy, not flesh. But the result is the same. A new life, born of two worlds, born of you and me. He shook his head, trying to process her words. This is impossible. We're not even the same species. A faint smile touched her lips. And yet we are. The universe has never cared for what is possible. It only cares for what is real. Ryan paced the room, his hands in his hair. He thought of Earth, of his soldiers, of the mission that had brought him here. He was meant to represent peace, not fatherhood. This isn't fair. I never agreed to this. I know, she whispered, and I would never force it on you. But the binding does not ask for permission. It only chooses. And it chose us. Ryan stopped. He looked at her again, truly looked. Not as an alien, not as an ambassador, but as someone caught in the same storm as him. Her face carried exhaustion, yet behind her fear there was courage. She had accepted the bond, even as the council raged against it. Soraya's final words cut through him like a blade. Whatever comes, you are now part of me, and I am part of you. Together, we must face what follows. Alone, we will both fall. Ryan stood silent, his chest heavy. He had come to make peace between two species. But now, the future of both worlds rested in a truth he never chose, yet could no longer escape. The chamber doors opened with a heavy sound, and Captain Ryan stepped back into the council hall beside Soraya. Both humans and aliens turned to look at them. The whispers stopped. The silence was heavier than any battlefield Ryan had ever walked on. The Zyari High Elder rose from his seat, his robe glowing faintly under the chamber lights. His voice thundered. The binding has been confirmed. The human has tied himself to our ambassador. This is a violation of our laws, our traditions, and our future. Gasps filled the hall. Human diplomats looked at each other in shock. The alien council members shouted in anger. Some demanded Soraya's removal. Others demanded Ryan's death. The air was thick with rage. Ryan clenched his fists, his soldier's instinct telling him he was one breath away from a fight. But this was not a battlefield. This was politics, deadly in a different way. One alien noble pointed at Soraya. You betrayed your bloodline. You gave yourself to an outsider. Another shouted at Ryan. You dare infect our ambassador with human filth? Ryan's jaw tightened, but before he could speak, Soraya rose. Her silver eyes flashed like blades. Her voice was calm, but it cut through the chamber like fire. Enough. I did not choose this. Neither did he. The binding chose for us. Do you dare question the will of our own ancestors? The council fell silent for a moment, but rage quickly returned. The High Elder slammed his staff on the floor. Silence, Soraya. You have shamed us. The council will not accept a half-blood child. It will not exist. Ryan's blood ran cold. He stepped forward, his voice sharp. You talk about killing a child? A life that hasn't even begun? Is that your justice? Is that your honor? The hall erupted again. Some shouted that the human had no right to speak. Others demanded guards remove him. But a few voices, quieter yet strong, aired in disagreement. Even among the Sayari, not all wanted blood. Soraya stood close to Ryan, her hand brushing his arm. He felt her trembling, but her gaze was unbroken. She whispered, low enough for only him to hear. They fear change. They will try to erase it before it begins. Ryan understood. This was no accident anymore. This was war waiting to start. The High Elder lifted his staff again, his voice shaking the walls. By decree of this council, the human shall be confined, and the ambassador stripped of her title. Their bond shall be erased, even if it means death. Guards began to move, their armor glinting under the chamber lights. Ryan's instincts roared inside him. He had faced enemies before, but never like this, an entire empire ready to crush him and the woman beside him. He looked at Soraya, her silver eyes burning with quiet fire. And in that moment, Ryan made a silent vow. He would not let them take her. He would not let them take their child. Whatever the cost, he would fight. The order had been given. Guards rushed forward, their armored boots pounding against the floor, their weapons glowing with alien energy. The council shouted in chaos. Humans demanded calm, but Ryan knew what was happening. This was no trial anymore. It was an execution. Ryan grabbed Soraya's arm and pulled her close. Stay behind me, he whispered, his soldier's voice sharp and steady. The first guard lunged, but Ryan moved faster. He twisted the soldier's arm, ripping the weapon away, and fired a blinding flash into the air. The chamber exploded in confusion, shouts, screams, the crack of weapons. "Run!" Ryan barked, dragging Soraya toward the side door. Soraya stumbled, still weak from the binding, but her will kept her moving. Together, they pushed past shocked diplomats and overturned chairs. Guards followed, their voices echoing in alien tongue. The side door opened to a narrow corridor glowing with blue light. Ryan sprinted, his instincts guiding him like a battlefield. Every turn, every step, his training kept him ahead. But behind them, the heavy footsteps of armored soldiers grew louder. Soraya gasped. "They won't stop. The council will hunt us to the ends of the empire." Ryan glanced at her, sweat dripping down his brow. "Then we'll make sure they can't catch us." They burst into a transport bay filled with sleek alien craft. The air smelled of fuel and ozone. Engineers froze at the sight of the human and ambassador storming in, chased by armed guards. Ryan pointed at the nearest craft, a small silver skimmer. "Can you fly it?" Soraya nodded weakly. "Yes, but not for long distances." "That's fine. We just need distance." The guards stormed in, weapons raised. Energy bolts cracked against the walls, spraying sparks. Ryan shoved Soraya into the cockpit and climbed in after her. He slammed the hatch closed, just as a blast shook the craft. "Hold on," Soraya cried, her slender hands moving across glowing controls. The skimmer roared to life, the hum of alien engines shaking the floor. The bay doors began to close, sealed by command of the council. "Too late," Soraya whispered in despair. But Ryan wasn't ready to give up. He grabbed the weapon he had stolen and fired at the control panels above the doors. Sparks flew, circuits burst, and the heavy doors froze halfway shut. "Go!" he shouted. The skimmer shot forward, scraping through the narrowing gap and burst into the open sky. Alarms wailed behind them as the council's fleet launched in pursuit. Silver ships streaked through the air, their engines glowing like fire. Ryan gritted his teeth. "Tell me you've got tricks to lose them." Soraya's silver eyes narrowed with focus. "I do, but you won't like them." The skimmer dived toward the city below, weaving between towering spires and glowing bridges. Pursuing ships fired, their blasts lighting up the alien skyline. Civilians scattered in panic as the chase thundered through the heart of the city. Ryan held onto the seat, his soldier's body braced. This wasn't war anymore. This was survival. And as the city lights blurred around them, Ryan realized something deep inside him. He wasn't just running for his own life. He was running for her, for their child, for the bond that no empire could erase. The skimmer glided low across the alien plains, its engines finally cooling after hours of frantic flight. Soraya guided the craft into a hidden canyon where tall rock walls shielded them from the scanning eyes of patrol ships above. The hum of pursuit faded into silence. For the first time since their escape, they could breathe. Ryan sat back in the cramped cockpit, his chest still heaving from the chase. His soldier's eyes scanned the shadows outside, every muscle tense, waiting for danger. But his thoughts kept returning to the woman sitting beside him. Soraya's hands trembled on the controls. Her breathing was shallow, her face pale from exhaustion. Ryan gently touched her shoulder. "You need to rest." She shook her head. "If I rest, they will find us. The council won't stop." Ryan studied her silver eyes. They glowed faintly in the dim light, filled with both fear and determination. "Then we'll make them chase us until they're too tired to continue," he said quietly. "But you're not doing this alone." Soraya turned to him, her lips parting as if to argue, but she stopped. For the first time, she saw something in him she had never expected. Not just duty, not just strength, but something deeper, a promise. Hours later, they hid the skimmer deep inside a cave and lit a small fire with Ryan's emergency kit. The flickering flames painted the stone walls in warm colors. Outside, the canyon winds whispered like ghosts. They sat across from each other, the silence heavy but not empty. Finally, Soraya spoke. Her voice was low, almost fragile. "You do not understand what this bond means for my people. It is not love. It is not even choice. It is destiny. Once formed, it cannot be broken." Ryan leaned forward, his elbows on his knees. "And for you, what does it mean?" Her eyes softened. "It means I am no longer only myself. A part of you lives in me now. I feel you. Your heartbeat when I close my eyes. I sense your strength when mine fails. Even now, sitting here, I feel safe." The words caught Ryan off guard. He was a soldier, trained to fight, to protect, but never had he thought of himself as someone's safety in this way. He cleared his throat, his voice rough. "I don't understand how any of this works, but I know one thing. I won't let them take you. Not you, not the child. Her eyes widened, a tear shimmering in the firelight. She whispered, "You speak as though you already believe." Ryan gave a small, tired smile. "Maybe I do, maybe I don't, but I know this much. I'm not walking away." For the first time, Soraya smiled, soft, genuine, and filled with warmth. The bond between them grew stronger in that moment, not because of destiny, but because of choice. The fire crackled, the night deepened, and though danger waited outside the canyon, inside the cave there was a fragile peace. And Ryan knew, whatever the future held, their connection was no longer just unexplainable. It was real. The fire in the cave had burned low, its glow no longer enough to chase away the shadows. Ryan woke to the faint sound of Soraya's breathing. It was uneven, almost strained. He sat up quickly, his soldier's instinct ready for danger, but there was no enemy near, only her. Soraya sat against the cave wall, her hands pressed to her stomach, her silver eyes wide with shock. Her skin glowed faintly in the firelight, as if her body itself carried energy. Ryan rushed to her side. "What's wrong? Are you hurt?" Her lips trembled, and her voice was barely above a whisper. "It has begun." Ryan froze. "What has begun?" She looked at him, tears sliding down her cheeks. "The child. Our child. I can feel it." For a moment, Ryan couldn't breathe. He was a soldier, trained for battles, for death and survival. But nothing in his life had prepared him for this. He knelt beside her, searching her face for signs of pain. "Is it hurting you?" Soraya shook her head slowly. "No, not pain. It is life. It grows fast, faster than your kind would ever expect. Already I feel the heartbeat. Already I feel its presence." Her hand reached out, trembling, and took his. She pressed his palm against her stomach. At first Ryan felt nothing. Then, suddenly, a spark of warmth pulsed against his skin, a rhythm too small, too fragile, yet undeniable. His breath caught. It was real. He pulled his hand back, staring at it as though it carried fire. "This is impossible," he whispered. "It hasn't even been days." Soraya's eyes softened. For the Zayari, the binding does not wait. Once the bond is sealed, new life forms quickly. What would take your kind years, for us is only weeks. Ryan paced the cave, his boots crunching against the stone. His heart raced, his mind storming with questions. This changes everything. If the council finds out, they won't stop. They'll see the child as a threat, as Pishores. Of everything they fear. Soraya nodded, her silver hair falling over her shoulders. "Yes, that is why we must protect it. This child is not only ours. It is the bridge between two worlds. The council will want to destroy it before it can be born." Ryan stopped, his fists tightening. "Then we don't give them the chance." He walked back to her and knelt once more, his soldier's face softer than she had ever seen. He placed his hand again on her stomach, this time without fear. "I don't know how to be a father. I don't even know how to explain this to my own people, but I know this. No one will touch this child. Not while I'm alive." Soraya's tears fell freely now, but they were not of fear. They were of relief. For the first time since the binding, she did not feel alone. The cave grew quiet again, but inside its walls something new had begun. A spark of life, fragile yet powerful. And for Ryan, that spark was no longer just unexplainable. It was a reason to fight. The canyon had been quiet for 2 days. Ryan and Soraya stayed hidden, living in the cave with only the glow of fire and the hum of the skimmer's low power. It felt almost safe. Too safe. Ryan kept watch through the nights, his rifle across his lap, his soldier's mind never resting. But Soraya began to change. Her strength returned and the glow in her eyes grew brighter. She touched her stomach often, whispering words in her alien tongue as if speaking to the life inside her. For the first time since the binding, Ryan felt something close to peace. But peace never lasts long. A shadow appeared at the cave entrance. Ryan was on his feet instantly, weapon raised. But the figure that stepped inside was not a soldier. It was Kyle, one of Soraya's old attendants, a young Zayari man with markings of loyalty across his arms. "Kale," Soraya whispered in relief. "You found us." Ryan kept his rifle steady. "You know him?" She nodded. "He was my guardian since childhood. He would never betray me." Kale stepped closer, his head bowed. "I followed your trail. I came alone. The council grows mad with rage. They call you a traitor, Soraya. They say the child must be erased." Her face hardened. "Then you know why I left. This child is not a curse. It is a hope neither side understands yet." Kael's eyes flickered with emotion. He dropped to one knee before her. I swore to protect you, and I will. But you must trust me. If you stay here, they will find you. Come with me. I can lead you to allies. Ryan lowered his rifle slightly, though suspicion stayed in his chest. Soldiers learned quickly, trust could be the sharpest weapon. That night, Kael led them out of the canyon. They moved quickly under the twin moons, shadows stretching long across the sand. Soraya walked beside her old guardian, her steps lighter now that she had someone familiar at her side. Ryan followed behind, his instincts sharp, watching Kael's every move. Hours later, the trail bent toward a ridge. At the top, Kael paused. His voice was calm, but his hand trembled. From here, we will meet others, friends. They will hide you. Ryan's eyes narrowed. He scanned the horizon. Too quiet. Too still. His stomach twisted. Something was wrong. Then, lights. Dozens of them. Soldiers rose from the rocks, their armor glowing, weapons pointed straight at them. Soraya gasped. Kael, what have you done? Kael couldn't meet her eyes, his head lowered in shame. Forgive me. They promised me mercy if I brought you in. I could not fight them all. I thought, maybe they would spare you. Ryan's rage exploded. He stepped forward, gripping his rifle tight. You sold her out. You doomed her and the child. Soraya's heart broke, her voice trembling. Kael, you were like family. The soldiers advanced, their weapons humming. The betrayal was complete. Ryan positioned himself in front of Soraya, his body a shield. His voice was cold, steady. If they want her, they'll have to go through me. The ridge blazed with light from the soldiers' weapons. Their armored ranks closed in, forming a wall of steel and glowing energy. Ryan stood in front of Soraya, rifle raised, every muscle tight. Behind him, he could feel her trembling hand resting on his back, not in fear, but in trust. The High Elder himself stepped forward, his staff glowing with power. His voice echoed across the ridge. Human, step aside. You are nothing here. The ambassador has broken our laws. The child she carries is an abomination. It will not live. Ryan's grip on his rifle tightened. He had fought for Earth, fought for comrades, but never had he fought for something so personal. He glanced back at Soraya, her silver eyes glowing with both fear and love. In that moment, his choice was clear. He lowered his rifle slowly, but his voice thundered. If you want her, if you want our child, then you'll have to kill me first. A hush fell over the ridge. Even the soldiers hesitated. No human had ever spoken to the council like this. No human had ever dared. The High Elder snarled. You speak of our child. You claim it as yours? Ryan stepped forward, his shadow falling long in the light. Yes, ours. She is my bond, and the life inside her is mine as much as hers. You can call it an abomination, you can call it a curse, but I call it my family, and I will not abandon them. Soraya's breath caught, tears filling her eyes, her hand pressed to her stomach, as if shielding the child with his words alone. The soldiers shifted uneasily. Some lowered their weapons, their eyes flicking toward the elder. Tradition was strong, but so was honor. Among the Zayari, courage was sacred, and Ryan had shown more courage than anyone present. The elder slammed his staff into the ground. Enough! Kill him and end this madness! But none of the soldiers moved. Their eyes were locked on Ryan, on the human who stood against death itself. One soldier finally dropped to one knee. Another followed. Soon, half the unit bowed their heads. Even in silence, their message was clear. They could not strike down a man who lived the very honor their people claimed to worship. The elder's face twisted in rage, but his power was broken. He could order death, but his own warriors no longer obeyed. Soraya stepped forward, her voice steady despite the storm inside her. Do you see, Elder? The binding was not a mistake. It was destiny. And now even your own warriors see the truth. Ryan wrapped an arm around her shoulders, pulling her close. He lifted his chin, his soldier's voice calm but final. This bond won't be erased, not by you, not by anyone. Silence fell across the ridge, heavy and absolute. For the first time, Ryan felt the future shift. Not war, not exile, something new, uncertain, fragile, but alive. He looked at Soraya, at the glow of her eyes, at the life she carried. And in that moment, Captain Ryan knew his choice was complete. He was no longer only a soldier, he was a father,